Attorney General Bill Barr and Merrick Garland.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. Johnny, what do you make out of this?
This? Well, I can make a cap, or a brooch, a pterodactyl.
Got him! Got him!
No truth to that statement, Mr. President, and he is casting aspersions on the FBI that are undeserved. Mr. Patel's record demonstrates that he's dangerous, inexperienced, and dishonest. He should not and cannot serve as an effective FBI director. Mr. Patel has been crystal clear that he plans on using the FBI's vast surveillance and investigative authority to, quote, come after, close quote, the president's enemies. It is shocking that my Republican colleagues are willing to support him, despite the serious threat he poses to our national security. And I'm sorry to say I believe they will quickly come to regret this vote. When I think of giving this man a 10-year tenure as director of the leading criminal investigative agency in the world, I cannot imagine a worse choice. You want the person that has that job and that power to destroy people simply by investigation, to show some temperament and some judgment. Kash Patel shows just the opposite. He is neither qualified nor prepared to assume this responsibility. I will be voting no and plead with my Republican colleagues. Please think twice before creating this situation and making it even worse. I yield the floor.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
Mr. President.
A senator from California is recognized.
Mr. President, I too rise today to oppose the nomination of Kash Patel to serve as director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, let me begin by saying to Americans watching at home who may not be completely up to speed as to what's going on, the importance of this specific nomination, or wondering who is Kash Patel. We might have been distracted these last few weeks by a rush of headlines coming out of the White House, maybe preoccupied with the cost of groceries that are rising by the week. You may have, if you caught any news, been hearing about how President Trump, the richest president in history, has given Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, unprecedented access to millions of Americans' sensitive private information. Yes, Elon Musk has access to your personal private information, from social security numbers to home addresses to your tax information. There's been a lot going on. All the while, President Trump is also trying to lay the groundwork to pass another massive tax cut for billionaires. So if you've been busy and struggling to keep up, I understand.
What is it, Doctor? What's going on?
So,
I'm not sure. Haven't seen anything like this since
let me
Anita
try to break
Brad.
it down for you. Only in the year 2025, when Donald Trump seems to have a headlock on the Republican Party, could a nominee this extreme and this unqualified be considered or confirmed to lead the FBI. No party of Reagan would ever support this big a threat to American freedom and our national security. No party of Lincoln could ever support this big a source of division
We've got to
among
get through to Chicago.
Americans. And yet, here we are, pretending as if a man who promised to shut down the FBI headquarters on day one and turn it into a museum for the deep state is now fit to lead the FBI. You see, time and again, Kash Patel has shown that his loyalty lies not with the rule of law, but with Donald Trump. Why? Because he knows that Donald Trump is his cash cow. Trump is Kash Patel's ticket to selling more books. It's his calling card to try to book the next podcast interview, and certainly key to landing his next job. Frankly, it's a pattern we've seen from all too many of the nominees that Donald Trump has picked for his second administration. These are people whose sole qualification is allegiance to Trump. This should disqualify any nominee, but it's particularly concerning for a nominee slated to lead the nation's premier law enforcement agency. When it comes to protecting the security of our nation, there is no room between patriotism and patronage. The American people need and deserve a public servant who is 100% committed to the around-the-clock safety of the American people. Unfortunately, through his actions over the course of the last several years, his conduct this past month before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Kash Patel has demonstrated a dangerous lack of judgment, lack of preparation, and lack of independence. He's shown that he's either unwilling or unable of putting politics aside in order to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution, should he be confirmed to lead the FBI.
Folks, this is going to be going on.
He's shown a clear of loyalty to Trump and of self-dealings at the expense of the American people.
This is going to be going on all day.
Undermining the FBI's work.
These lunatics are going to be up here sounding off just one delusion after another. If you are with us, you are watching live the Senate confirmation of Patel. You are here on Tyrant Slayer Studios. Of course, I am your host, the Tyrant Slayer. And we're going to be watching this. We're going to be talking about the state of Connecticut. We're going to be talking about just how desperate these delusional Democrats are in stonewalling transparency. These guys are trying to compel the American people through manipulation and fear to believe that somehow, some way, their private information is being violated. When really what's happening is there's an audit of the public accounting, the public records associated with our government that works for us and is accountable to us. These sick lunatics over there on the left, they can't get their heads around what a free, open society is, and the notion that the government doesn't own the people and own all of the records. The government works for the people. We are the boss, and those records belong to us. We have every right to these records, to the accounting books, to know and to account for every cent that our government spends, whether it's on a local, state, or federal level. So do not relish any of the delusional lies. And literally, I would constitute what these sick lunatics are doing as an act of sedition. They're even trying to stir up violence. These people are inciting insurrection and deliberately misinforming people by way of fear to compel them to do things that they would not normally do. You know, by manipulating them through manipulated emotion and political agenda, you name it. So thanks for joining us here. I do hope you appreciate any analysis I put out there going forward throughout this Senate confirmation. I do appreciate you joining us. Please, if you're new here, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Set the alert bell to all so you can receive notifications to when we go live next. We're going to be providing throughout the next 4 years in-depth coverage and analysis on this president's administration and what it means for the state of Connecticut, what it means for your state. If you have stories of corruption, waste, fraud, or abuse that you would like to put into the light and into the public realm, you are more than welcome to utilize this platform here at Tyrant Slayer Studios, the People's Press Studio, where we disseminate news, views, and reviews just the way you like it. Please email me at studioadmin@tyrantslayerstudios.com, and we will go ahead, vet you, and see if we can't get your story on the air. In the interim, before we get into the local nonsense of the day, we are going to be sticking with the confirmation hearing of Patel. Thanks for being with me.
Today, consider this, that someday in the future, possibly the near future, when a loyalist FBI director abuses the position and fails to protect the American people, it won't just be Kash Patel that will be held accountable. It won't just be President Trump who will try to hold accountable. It will be every member of this body who supported his nomination that will also be held accountable.
Sounds like an idle threat to me.
So
is this guy high on drugs? What psychotropic drugs, if any, do you think this lunatic is under the influence of right now? And how do you think,
have the courage to stand
if
up
any impact at all, it is impacting him?
The American people.
Do you believe that
do the right thing.
Officials in our government should be permitted to be
Mr. President,
seated in our public offices if they are, in fact, under the influence of mind-altering psychotropic drugs?
The senator from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. President, I rise to strongly oppose the confirmation of Kash Patel to serve as the next director of the FBI. The FBI director leads our nation's most important law enforcement agency. It is made up of more than 38,000 nonpartisan public servants who work every day to take on violent crime, get fentanyl off of our streets, investigate cyber crimes, protect our national security, and so much more. The Bureau's motto is fidelity, bravery, integrity. And its director must be someone who embodies those core values above all else. That is not Kash.
Good morning, Tommy 227. Afternoon here on the East Coast. Cindy Brooks, thank you so much.
The Constitution, the American people. But Mr. Patel has made it clear that his only loyalty is to the president. Mr. Patel has threatened to come after the president's critics. On one podcast in December of 2023, by the way, that's 2023, just a few years ago, not 2 decades ago, not when he's in high school. In 2023, he said, and I quote, "We're going to come after you, whether it's criminally or civilly. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you on notice." And on another podcast last August, he said, when Trump wins in 2024 and is in power in 2025, we can prosecute them, referring to Justice Department officials. That was
and
just
now you know why they're all against his confirmation. Now you know why they're all freaking out, because they're all criminals.
We gave Mr. Patel numerous
Do you think any criminals are going to want a real person in power who's going to do real things to address real crime?
Not to. Nor did he try to explain his so-called deep state list of former government officials, including many Republicans who served under the president's first term. This list of his deep state government gangsters, as he called them, list included former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, former CIA Director Gina Haspel, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, and former Attorney General Bill Barr. Bill Barr, who had received So
The entire
many
judiciary in
compliments
the
from
state of
people in this
Connecticut
body,
is a corrupt
from so many
racket.
Republicans, including
There are
the
3
chair of
dozen
the
judges
Judiciary
I'm aware
Committee.
of that need to be charged
I
under
remind
RICO,
our
who are
colleagues
on the
on the
bench
other side of the
illegally,
aisle
just like our
that
very
Bill
own
Barr
Attorney
wrote
General William
that
Tong holds
putting
his office
Patel in
illegally.
charge
He's
of the
already been
FBI,
arrested. He's
promoting
already
him in any
arrested
way,
on dockets that
would
have already
only
been filed
happen,
and are
quote,
already
over his dead
proceeding
body,
in
end
our
quote.
Connecticut courts. But nobody
Gina
wants
Haspel
you to know about
threatened to
that.
resign
No one wants you to know
stop
that the
Patel
AG
from
of the state of
becoming her
Connecticut,
deputy.
William Tong,
And John Bolton
is a
said that
felon
Patel
criminal. He's just yet to be
demonstrated
sentenced, and the
no
process is yet
policy aptitude at all.
to conclude. But that's the
Mr.
dirty little
President,
secret here in the
these
state
are
of Connecticut. Our
staunch,
governor and
lifelong
his
Republicans.
filthy wife
They
are
are
laundering all of our money into the
experienced
Cayman
and
Islands, into their
people.
private equity
I may not
accounts in the
agree
Cayman Islands.
in any way with everything they've said
Connecticut
or done,
is a mess.
nor does
We need some
everyone
real
here.
help out
but
here.
we do agree that they are people of integrity. Mr. President, if these people can end up on Kash Patel's deep state list, we can only imagine what that would mean for anyone who might not be deemed sufficiently loyal to the president. We know what Mr. Patel wants to do with the people on his list because he already told us. In one interview, he said the people on the list, quote, need to go to prison, end quote.
Oh my
And
God,
his
he wants
comments
to
about
send
his
criminals
so-called
to
enemies
prison.
are
We
not
can't
empty
have
threats.
that.
His
I might
desire
go to
punish
prison.
all but
Oh
the president's
boy.
most zealous loyalists is far too real. At his hearing, Mr. Patel said that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution, end quote. Yet, mere hours later, the administration forced out 8 of the Bureau's most senior, nonpartisan public servants who oversaw national security, criminal, and cyber matters.
What is it, Doctor?
One
What's
day
going on?
later, an
I'm
email
not
was
sure.
sent to
Haven't
FBI
seen anything
employees
like this since
requesting
either
a list
Brad
of everyone who had worked on January 6 cases, quote, to determine whether any additional personnel actions are necessary, end quote. It wouldn't matter if it's just a brand new person who gets assigned to a case or a senior person. It doesn't matter if these people were prosecuting people, investigating people that actually tried to do us harm in this chamber, chased down former Senator Romney in the hall.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
That all happened. Destroyed offices of the parliamentarian and others. Cut police officers' faces and injured them. And then, when in any crime scene you'd have it investigated, this guy, Kash Patel, is questioning those FBI employees that were simply assigned to the case to work on them. This is not the person we should be putting in charge of the FBI. And I know my colleagues know this. So many of them that were there at the time supported Christopher Wray. I voted for Christopher Wray. He was Donald Trump's choice to run the FBI, but I thought that he would be a man of integrity, and he was. I will also note that applications to the FBI have tripled since he's been in office during that time period, because he's improved morale, they've been doing their job, and people want to go work there. Mr. Patel's supposed enemies are not only government officials he disagrees with. He has threatened the press as well. No one agrees with every story the press writes. I certainly don't. And I'm sure many of my colleagues have read stories about them that they don't like. But we believe in this country in the First
Johnny, what do you make out of
Amendment.
this?
Mr. Patel, however,
What a
has
broke,
referred to the
pterodactyl.
media as, again, a recent quote, the most powerful enemy the United States has ever seen, end quote. He said that not even on a podcast. He said that in a speech. Think about that. The media is the most powerful enemy the United States has
Jesus,
ever
man,
seen.
these
In the
people act
words
like
of
that's
Kash
new
Patel,
news. They
nominated
use the media
to be
all
the
day,
director
every
of the
day. They've been
FBI
using the media
to oversee
for
tens
8 years
of
to brainwash
thousands
everyone.
of
For
agents
decades.
across the country.
But more so in the last
Not China,
decade than ever before.
not
I would say.
Russia, not Iran, not
The media
terrorists,
doesn't,
but the press.
I digress.
And
it's just
Mr.
it's
Patel
too
has
much for me
already
right now.
publicly threatened
I
journalists,
can't stand
saying,
listening to
we're
this woman
going
here.
to
Let's
come
do something, I
after
guess.
the
When that
people
much money
in the media.
disappears,
We're going to come after you, whether it's
usually
criminally or
because
civilly.
somebody broke
We'll
some
fix
laws somewhere. But if we don't look, if we don't ask, if we don't uncover it and make it all public, we'll never find out.
We are here to fight back.
We've got to get through to Chicago.
All this money to go to illegal immigrants. Anything that you all pass is not genuine.
You have not protected the people of Chicago from invasion.
He wants to pour a $40 million line of credit and put the city in even more debt. It's your fault that because you gave half the money to illegals.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
The people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us. We don't know.
Address the roadway safety crisis, including the critical funding that would accelerate the development, and this is an area I've written to you about, of the use of female dummies in crash testing. This will start to fight the gender inequity among vehicle safety and crash victims.
Off of our money, or put a mouse down. You mustard moon. I say Trump.
I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump. Please don't tell my children that I just did that.
I just want to correct what a couple of my colleagues said. They used that word in front of Donald Trump's name. What they meant to say, Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
We are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress.
Censoring the American people is a means to advance progress. Let's listen to that again, shall we?
We are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress.
Lunatics.
Just like the sun coming out, we're going to shine
right
that
here in
sun
Connecticut.
because it's the best disinfectant on what Musk and his minions are doing, President Musk, because we are not going to stand for this kind of betrayal. It is a betrayal of our veterans.
He didn't even know what he was going to say. He's like digging desperately to, what the hell am I supposed to say about this? I can't remember what the problem is.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. We've got to get through to Chicago. What is it, Doctor? What's going on?
I'm not sure. Haven't seen anything like this since the Anita Bryant concert.
Kash Patel didn't like one investigation of a bunch of mobsters that came into this Capitol and beat up police. And then he said he wanted the list of everyone that was involved in that.
False.
I don't think the FBI is a threat to the people like Mr. Patel. I don't think it's utterly corrupt. And I don't think my Republican colleagues believe that
Nobody
either.
killed and beat up any
I think
police out
they
there.
admire the people that work at the FBI. In fact, under Mr. Ray's leadership, as I noted,
Those people were ushered into the building peacefully, single file, waving.
has
The police let
improved
them in.
significantly, 3 times as many people, as I noted, applying as agents. These agents
They
deserve
didn't
a
burn the
director
building down and
who will
block all the
have
streets
their
and
back
bridges around the
and
area, did they?
continue building the morale at the Bureau. Not
They
someone
should have done
who
that. I guess it would have been
their
described as a
service.
peaceful
And
protest,
as Kash
right?
Patel has done, again, we've got it, his voice saying it, calls for their headquarters to be shut down and turned into a museum. That was one of his later comments. The men and women of the FBI show us every day what it means to embody bravery. And now we need to show them that we too can be brave. And tell the president on this one, no, this is not the right person. We know he's your friend. We know you've hung out with him a lot. But this is not the person for this job. I asked my colleagues to vote no on just one of these nominees. I voted yes on some of them. I looked at their credentials. I made a decision. Maybe it wouldn't have been the first person I picked, but I voted yes on some of them. I asked them to vote no on Kash Patel. Integrity, FBI, integrity.
Oh my God.
The FBI runs on facts. It runs on truth. Without truth, the whole system breaks down. And in his hearing, Mr. Patel made clear why Americans should be so concerned about putting someone in charge of the FBI who clearly does not have the integrity the job demands. Mr. Patel did not even have the integrity to stand by his own words that we had on YouTube. Instead of disavowing or providing explanations for his past statements, he repeatedly misled the committee, dodged questions, and claimed ignorance. Claimed he didn't remember things he'd said just a few months before. Why would you want someone in the FBI doesn't remember things they said only a few months before? This is irresponsible at best and deceitful at worst. The director of our nation's most powerful law enforcement agency must be forthright and trustworthy. He must follow the facts and carefully analyze evidence before drawing conclusions. Unfortunately, Mr. Patel has proven that his allegiance is to the president, not to the truth. Mr. President, independence of the FBI from the White House is critical. We recently saw courageous prosecutors stand up for an independent justice system. They resigned instead of carrying out politicized orders from the administration. These were not liberal lawyers. These were not members of the resistance. The acting U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Danielle Sassoon, was a Federalist Society.
I want everybody watching just to take a quick note. She's reading a script. She looks disingenuous. She has the look of an arrogant, pompous, corrupt, overpaid, racketeering stooge of the lunatic left. These sick people belong in prison. Or we're going to find out whether or not they do. Because we're going to find out how much of our money they've been stealing to buy their own personal properties or properties for their nieces and daughters and nephews, and all of the illegal foreclosures, all of the inside trading, all of the money laundering, all of the embezzling, all of the use of public offices to steer contracts like we have out here in Windham with Connecticut's dumbest criminal, Mayor Tom DeVivo. Yeah, that's right, Mayor Tom DeVivo. We all know that you're a piece of shit. We all know what you're doing over there. And we know what the town council's doing, and we know what the police department's doing, and we know how much waste is behind it all. And we're going to trim it all down to size. We're going to cut you down to size, boy. That's right. It's a new time in America. The people who elected this government are going to be exercising and standing upon their rights that oversee our government. And we are going to be cracking our whips, cracking our accounting books, and showing you who's in charge. And we've got real representatives in public high places now that are going to help us do it. And there's not a damn thing any of you could do about it but piss and moan like this lunatic right here. Folks, if you're just joining us, we are watching the Senate confirmation of Patel, and we are watching the Democrats squirm, kick, and scream in a desperate panic.
Every single day to keep our nation, to keep us safe, from counterterrorism and counter-trafficking to fighting cyber attacks and so much more. At a time of global instability, FBI agents are working day in and day out to protect us from threats, both foreign and domestic.
Yeah,
but today,
they would like you at home, the viewer,
Department of Justice,
to believe that journalists, that, people trying to hold their government accountable, fighting for transparency, are somehow a threat. This I don't know who this person is, but she is in dire need of a mental health evaluation and a history lesson. I do not understand how these people get into the positions of power that they are in with these counterintuitive anti-American notions in which they predicate their arguments upon the idea that they are somehow higher than us, better than us, know better than us, are better than us. It's insane. It's insanity.
Hundreds of thousands of the prosecutors and FBI special agents and analysts may be next. In fact, I shouldn't use the word may, will be next. Purging hardworking and dedicated civil servants does nothing to make us safe. In fact, it does just the opposite. Attorney General Bondi recently announced the creation of a, quote, weaponization working group, end quote, only continues this trend. Through this working group, she is doing what she told us she would not do in her confirmation hearings. She is, quote, investigating the investigators with this working group. And I expect next to be
investigating the investigators. You know, these people, what's kind of fascinating to me is here at Tyrant Slayer Studios for the last 5 years, nearly 5 years, I've been doing exactly what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are now publicly doing on a national level, on a federal level. And no one here cared. No one's been behind any of this. In fact, I've been falsely arrested 7 times by the Trump-supporting conspiratorial right wing, plenty of times, and I've beaten every single one of those cases with dismissals. I've been in witch hunts. I've been persecuted. I've been victim just like Trump and Elon Musk, and no one paid any attention. But now that Elon Musk, a guy with a bunch of money, and now that Donald Trump are doing it on a federal level, all of a sudden these bootlicking so-called conservatives are all behind accountability all of a sudden, and all of a sudden they can support transparency. Where the hell are all you sick people been for the last 5 years? The left and the right are just as sick as one another. The only real winners in America right now are the ones who didn't vote and are just watching all of this insanity unfold and finding creative ways to capitalize upon it like I am. We're the real winners here. But I digress.
Profited from selling supplements to detox the COVID-19 vaccine. Supplements he promoted on his social media channels. He did not answer. I asked him if Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. He would not answer. He claimed not to know an anti-Semitic extremist named Stu Peters, despite the fact that he appeared in this person's program 8 times. He tried to claim no involvement with the January 6th choir made up of inmates serving in prison for their part in the violent insurrection on January 6th at the Capitol. And of course, we all know all of these inmates have been pardoned en masse by the president. He claimed no involvement with this choir, despite promoting them and hawking.
Folks, if you're just joining us, we are watching the Senate confirmation of Patel. You are live here on Tyrant Slayer Studios with yours truly, the Tyrant Slayer, better than the EIB network, inspired by the old great late Rush Limbaugh. Great radio hosts like Dr. Michael Savage, the famous Brooklyn Jew, I suppose, is a good compliment. Shout out to George Carlin and Richard Pryor. I hope you enjoy the analysis and coverage we bring you for the next 4 years covering this presidency and what it means for the corrupt, racketeering, Nazi, socialist, Democrat, nanny police state of Connecticut and its weaponized judiciary, its racketeering, money laundering, embezzling governor, and its subservient minions like Mayor Tom DeVivo and the racketeering police unions like the ones that run New London Police Department, New Britain Police Department, the Connecticut Judicial Marshal Services, the Court Administrative Services, Willimantic Police Department, Troop C, Troop H, Troop D, Connecticut State Police as a whole is a racketeering organized crime family that should be categorized as a domestic terrorist organization. These people will literally tase your teenage son to death until he shits his pants while they laugh, kill him, and then stage the scene of the murder to cover up their crime and make it look as though everything they did was justified. That's the Connecticut State Police in a nutshell. To make matters worse, while they do that, they'll have 5 guys parked outside just sleeping in their cars to collect double time and a half while pretending to investigate matters further. So, real problems out here in Connecticut. The weaponized racketeering judiciary, it preys upon ignorant citizens who do not know our laws, who do not know our rights, and do not know how to properly articulate in official proceedings their innocence. And due to that fact, they are easily victimized and squeezed by our weaponized judiciary, which is warring against our Constitution and the American people here in the state of Connecticut who hold it near and dear to their hearts. We are the primary targets for persecution. If the state of Connecticut believes that you are a Republican and that you voted for Donald Trump, you can expect to have problems, to put it mildly, for the next 4 years of your life. This is including but not limited to disruptions in your mail service. Just for one example, the USPS mail carriers here in the state of Connecticut are lunatics, and they are being permitted to impose their wildly delusional fantasies upon people they see that have, Trump signs in their yard during election time. You can expect to have lost mail, not get packages, just the whole nine. This whole state is persecuting anyone that believes supports Donald Trump. So I have to thank you for being here. I have to thank you for watching, and I have to ask you to continue to support this channel and the independent journalism that I can bring to you in the most entertaining way that I know possible. I hope you're enjoying today's show. I hope you tune in to tomorrow's show. And I hope in time we can grow a platform in which we can utilize together to create a better quality of life, more transparency in our free and open society, and above all else, government accountability. And of course, when appropriate, liability. We're going to teach you how to file a lien on that cop's house who beat up your kid or falsely arrested you. We're going to teach you how to file liens on the houses of judges. We're going to teach you how to arrest people and public officials pursuant to Connecticut general statutes. We're going to teach you the laws and our rights here. And we're going to utilize them together to make our lives better and to take power that belongs to us back from socialized racketeering nanny Democrat police states like Connecticut. And that's it. That's what it's all about. We don't condone violence. We don't promote messages of hate. We don't use this platform to chop other people down. This is a place for real progress. It's not for lunatics like this.
We are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress.
Tell me how censorship is an advancement of progress. You see, the left is so... It plays semantics. It perverts the language so much, it's almost impossible to keep up with the ever-evolving definitions. But when the left say the word progress, what it really means is regression. A free and open society is expected to regress into censorship and fascism so that the left can make the progress it needs. Make that make sense. Somebody please make that make sense. Anyway.
all in the service of an even bigger
line shifty
crime,
eye shift over
stopping
here.
the peaceful transfer of power after Donald Trump lost his
This
re-election.
man in prison.
And they get pardoned by Donald Trump. The lawbreakers get pardoned. And the brave FBI agents who track down these violent miscreants, these agents get punished. They get fired. They get purged. The one-man wrecking ball that is Donald Trump is turning the world upside down. The criminals are being pardoned and the cops are being punished.
More cops
Kash
need to
Patel
be
sat
punished
before
because
the
there are
Senate Judiciary
more
Committee and under
criminals
oath
disguised as
insisted
cops than
he
there
knew
are
of
real
no
law enforcement
plans to
officers
punish
capable
FBI
and qualified of
employees
doing the job
involved in investigations
under
related
the
to Donald Trump.
Constitution of which
He
they take
positively
an oath to
levitated
uphold.
at the suggestion that such a thing could even be true. Then within days, top FBI agents were fired. Thousands of FBI employees, career professionals, were sent a detailed questionnaire demanding they disclose any involvement in investigations related to the January 6th insurrection. A warning accompanied this. Additional personnel actions could follow. And yet, Mr. Patel testified that, quote, there will be no politicization at the FBI. There'll be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as FBI director. He sat in that committee room and told the Senate all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. That was a Thursday. 3 weeks ago, the very next day, the purges began. Before the ink had dried on the transcript of that hearing, the retribution campaign had begun. In his written response to questions, Patel denies knowing about these actions in advance, denies knowing whether he discussed these dismissals with the White House, the DOJ, or the FBI. He wrote, I do not recall having conversations with the transition team about pursuing any particular investigations or targets. I asked him in writing about these actions, and his answer was he doesn't remember. But in fact, whistleblowers have come forward to testify or to state that not only did Patel know about the upcoming purges, he was directing those dismissals. How could he not recall that? It wasn't years ago or even months. It was days before. Days before his written answers to those questions, those written answers where he said he couldn't recall, he was directing these purges covertly as a private citizen. But he doesn't recall. Purges of quality career professionals who dedicated their lives to the rule of law, who have been fired, laid off, or forced out because they dared investigate a violent insurrection on our Capitol. Or the President's retention of classified documents that contained our nuclear and other national security secrets. There was a time in our country when the FBI was weaponized, when it served as a sword for the President, and the DOJ served as his shield. When Hoover authorized covert harassment campaigns against the perceived enemies of the President, we thought those days were over. And they were over until now. We must not put in place a Roy Cohn for the President, someone who will bend and break the law to serve the President's personal and political aims. For therein lies the path to corruption, to unlimited power, and to malfeasance of the highest order. We put up guardrails to prevent one man and his cadre of company men from turning the Bureau and Department into a partisan and lawless battering ram. We must not take them down. Because we know the road that lies ahead. And we know that Donald Trump cannot destroy the nonpartisan character of the FBI and the Department of Justice without his enablers. And Kash Patel is Donald Trump's hand-picked enabler and henchman. The guy who would say yes when everyone else would say no to any immoral and unlawful requests made by Donald Trump. The guy who publicized his deep state list, almost half of whom are Republicans. The guy who worked for and retains millions of dollars in stock in a company supported by the Chinese Communist Party. In any normal world, that would automatically disqualify someone from leading the nation's premier law enforcement and counterintelligence agency. This is not someone we would want running the FBI. It would be unthinkable to confirm a nominee who's written an entire book in service of, quote, dramatically limiting and refocusing the scope of the FBI's authority. A nominee who's publicly said it would be fun to go on a manhunt of government gangsters alongside those who, quote, represent Donald Trump's army to take this country back. I'm of the opinion that the people the FBI should be going on manhunts for are actual criminals, not the president's enemies of the day. The FBI shouldn't serve as Donald Trump's army. Alas, we will not soon forget the last time Donald Trump's army presented itself to us, when they beat down the doors of this Capitol, when they attacked law enforcement and sought to overturn an election. Mr. Patel is quite familiar with that mob. He celebrated them in song. Now, Mr. Patel tried to deny his association with the January 6th choir. He said he had nothing to do with their recording. But earlier on Steve Bannon's podcast, he was all too proud to brag about it. Quote, so what we thought would be cool is if we captured that audio and then, of course, had the greatest president, President Donald J. Trump, recite the Pledge of Allegiance, then we went to a studio and recorded it, mastered it, digitized it, and put it out as a song, now releasing exclusively on the War Room. But when I asked him about this under oath, his response was, and you may never believe this, when he said we did this and we did that, we didn't include him. I don't know what's worse, taking credit for something he didn't do or doing something and then lying about it. But what I do know is this is not the character of someone who should be director of the FBI. At the hearing, I also asked him to turn and face the Capitol Police officers in the room. These officers from the same department that suffered such grievous injuries on January 6th. He couldn't do so. He couldn't look them in the eye. And I don't blame him for being too ashamed. He should be ashamed, celebrating their victimization in a song. He should be ashamed. And anyone voting to confirm him should be ashamed. And yet here we are, on a fast track to rubber stamp his confirmation, asked to turn a blind eye as he takes control of the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country. That is what my Republican colleagues seem poised to do, and I will ask again, how on earth did we get here? And where are we going? By confirming a nominee who is so plainly unqualified, who is tied up in shady business dealings with the CCP and the Kremlin, who made songs with violent cop beaters, who made memes of himself sawing the heads off of members of Congress. How on earth did we get here? Because we all know where this road ends. A weaponized FBI, investigations into anyone who stands up to Donald Trump, elected officials, journalists, Democrats, and Republicans, anyone. Now, I know some of my colleagues seek solace in the belief that if they just toe the line for long enough, they'll be spared.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything like this since
we all know what happens when someone falls out of favor with Donald Trump. When you're inevitably asked to vote for something or do something so egregious that you cannot possibly continue to say yes. And when you reach that moment, when you're forced to cross the president or abandon your final line in the sand, it will be these moments you remember, the concessions to a wannabe authoritarian that you were willing to entertain, the lines you allowed him to cross so you would be spared, his wrath. But you will not be spared. No one is. Not the veteran, nonpartisan employees of the FBI, not the maverick, moderate members of this body, not even the most extreme supporters, left out in the cold the moment they are no longer valuable to this president. When, not if, when you fall out of favor with Donald Trump, Patel and others may be unleashed on you as well. My colleagues should remember there is more room under Donald Trump's bus than on it. Enabling his administration is a one-way street, and by continuing to go down it, you drive yourselves and the foundations of our democracy to the very precipice. My colleagues, we have a duty today, a duty to the Constitution and a duty to the American people. We have a duty to the 38,000 men and women of the FBI who put themselves and their lives on the line every single day. Those who work in the building where we stood this morning in the freezing cold, and in communities and cities across the country, keeping us safe and secure. We must take that duty seriously, because if we confirm Kash Patel, knowing what we are getting, knowing where we are going, we will only have ourselves to blame. Mr. President, I yield back.
The senator from Rhode Island is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here to join my distinguished colleague from California in opposition to the nomination of Kash Patel and to make crystal clear to this body what he is going to do in that job. He has shown who he is. So when these things go wrong, I want to be absolutely clear that our Republican friends were warned. They will own the consequences of Kash Patel's misbehavior. Let's start with the fact that unlike any FBI director before, this guy is a vitriolic partisan. And those are the stripes he shows when he is left to his own devices, and those are the characteristics he will revert back to when he is running the FBI. Just a few simple examples. This is from his book that contains, called Government Gangsters, and this is a page of his enemies list. Well, Attorney General Bondi said nobody should come to a law enforcement job with an enemies list. So then they had to pretend that this was not an enemies list. Well, of course it's an enemies list. Here's what Kash Patel himself says about it. Names named, roadmap unveiled, the manhunt starts tomorrow. If you're going to set up a manhunt against people, are they not your enemies by any logical definition of the term? He goes on to a video that shows himself chainsawing off the heads of the people on his enemies list, including the handsome junior senator from California and the daughter of former Vice President Cheney. It's a pretty gross image to be cutting the heads off of people with a saw. And he didn't put it up, but he retweeted it. He loved it so much that he put it up on his own media. Things like that are not appropriate for an FBI director. They're bizarre for just a normally weird person, but for an abnormally weird person to be the director of the FBI, things are going to go bad. Be warned. He is also a completely sycophantic suck-up when it comes to Donald Trump. He wrote children's books in which King Donald rules, and his loyal little functionary, Kash, brings justice to him, pursuing the slugs of the FBI. Really? When the FBI is asked to investigate corruption in Trump world, do you think Kash Patel will rise to the occasion, or do you think he'll participate in a cover-up? All you have to do is look at his own conduct and his own history. This is not Democrats saying this. What we're doing is relating what he has said and what he has done. This is Kash Patel on Kash Patel. He spread the really abhorrent lie that federal law enforcement was behind January 6th. on one of the many
kind of like all these same people that are worried
podcasts
that
and interview
Patel's going to be
shows where he
confirmed,
spewed
spread the lie about
so much
Russian
disinformation
collusion
and
all
partisan
of this
vitriol.
nonsense with
He was asked,
with Ukraine
looks like
and
you have a preponderance of evidence suggesting there may have been federal law enforcement involved in making
interference with
January 6th happen.
elections and blah blah blah
Patel's
blah
response,
blah. One thing
I'll
after
get you
another,
to
one
beyond a
lie
reasonable
after
doubt.
another for.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, he believed and
That's why
said
these people are desperate
federal law
and
enforcement
panicking.
agencies were behind
They're
January 6th.
Terrified.
We know that is
Unreal, like
preposterous.
Patel
We
gets
know that
confirmed.
is false. We know that investigations have shown that none of that is even remotely true. That is completely false information. And yet, here he is spouting it.
I don't know what he's talking about.
And that's what he's going to look like as FBI director, too. The FBI is going to have to appear before judges and convince judges of the probity of the agency, of the legitimacy of the agency, of the propriety of the investigation, that the department has done a fair job of marshaling the evidence. Here's what he says about judges. We got to start impeaching judges if they've ruled against Donald Trump. They were a political terrorist, in his view. Any case that Donald Trump's been charged in, almost every judge is handling this thing as if they were not a judge, but a political terrorist. And of course, he meant the Trump judge down in Florida as the only one accepted. When you start talking about judges that way, you can't then expect judges not to pay attention.
The
when
judges
you
in
come before them
Connecticut are
trying to
tyrants.
do the work
They are criminals
of the
and they are on the
FBI.
bench illegally.
Then
and they
there's the
are
question
illegally
of
seizing
what
people's
his former
homes for their
colleagues have
own
said about
kids
him.
and
These are
nieces
things that
and
he said
nephews
himself.
and criminal
What have
friends.
his former colleagues said about him? Every single one.
The Connecticut
a Trump
judges in
appointee.
Connecticut need to be charged
John
with
Bolton,
treason
National
and
Security
sentenced
Advisor.
accordingly.
I didn't think he was qualified. I was forced to hire him.
Come on
Political
out to
pressure
Connecticut,
jammed
Patel.
him into
We
the
love you
job,
here,
and
pal.
Bolton said, I don't want any part of this guy. I was forced to
We
hire
would
him.
love to have Patel out here in Connecticut.
Attorney General Bill Barr. They tried to force him on Bill Barr as deputy director of the FBI. And he said Patel has virtually no experience that would qualify him to lead the FBI, and said, over my dead body does he get that job. These are the job recommendations of his own colleagues that show his unfitness. Over at the CIA, they tried to stuff him in someplace. And the director of the CIA, Gina Haspel, I'm no friend of Gina Haspel, but here's what she said about him. If he came over, she would resign before allowing Patel to assume a position as her deputy. This is a guy who has a record of engagement with Trump appointees that show that he is not qualified, not capable, and somebody that they would resign before they'd let work for them. And now we're supposed to let him work for the American people? It is ridiculous. He testified once in state court on a Trump-related case, and his testimony was, to put it mildly, not convincing. Here's what the judge said. The court finds that Mr. Patel was not a credible witness. His testimony is not only illogical, but completely devoid of any evidence in the record. Okay, people come into court, they lie, the court doesn't believe their nonsense, and statements like this happen all the time in court. But here's where they don't happen. They don't happen
The Connecticut court just
with
makes
federal law
up whatever
enforcement
it wants.
agents.
You could show up to court and
Because
testify for
when
7
I was the
hours and
U.S.
present
attorney in
exhibits
Rhode
and
Island,
evidence in
if
the
one
court
of my FBI
on the
agents
actual
had gone
court
over
record here in
into the
Connecticut will
United
say
States
that you
District Court
didn't
in
show
Rhode
up to
Island
court that
and
day.
testified
They
in a criminal
alter,
case in
they
such a
destroy,
way
they
that one of the
conceal,
United
they
States District
stonewall
judges
access to,
said about
and
that
they just
witness,
completely
he
make
was not a
up
credible
whatever
witness. His
they need
testimony was
to on the
illogical,
record
devoid of evidence
for
in the
that
record.
equity, for whatever is most
We'd be looking into
equitable
that.
for it, the court,
This comes
and the
darn
judge
close to being what is
presiding,
called
and all of the
giglio
corrupt
material.
assholes
Material that the government is
associated
forced
with
to
the
disclose
corrupt proceeding,
to future
or
defendants
complete absence of
when it
any due
bears on the
process, all of
credibility
these default
of a
judgments
government
and
witness,
things.
an agent who is a government witness.
Connecticut courts are
People lose
literally
their
a domestic
careers
terrorist organization,
over
an
giglio
organized
material.
crime family, a complete
This,
and utter
if he was
racket.
an FBI agent,
and
would have
the,
caused a
real
response in headquarters
FBI
to say,
head,
what the hell is going
Patel,
on? How did one of our people
our new
get
U.S.
involved
Attorney
in
General
such flagrantly
Bondi,
fake testimony
Donald Trump,
that he
Elon
was
Musk.
called out by the judge in the case like this?
Oh, what's the other one?
And this is the person that they want to put in charge
Tulsi
of
Gabbard.
the organization. whose probity
what it is?
and whose professionalism and whose integrity
All
are essential
really
to the
good, refreshing
successful
news
working
for
of the
people in
organization.
Connecticut
And the
who
guy
have
was
a
basically
clue.
called out as a liar and a fraud
All
in plain
really
court.
bad news for lunatics like
This guy
this moron up
is
here,
a
and
hot mess.
most everybody else.
And when
on
you
the
have a
raving
character
lunatic
like this
left
that lies in
dire need of
court,
horse
that runs
medications
chainsaw
and,
memes
psychiatric
about your
evaluation.
opponents, that every person who he tried to work with who was senior in the Trump administration said, get this bum out of here, I don't want to be anywhere near him. That's a record. And you all, my Republican friends who are going to vote on this guy, when he gets there and he does what his character tells us he will do, don't think this isn't going to come back to haunt you. And by the way, don't think that his Trump servience as FBI director won't turn on you. Just because he's a vitriolic partisan who despises Democrats doesn't mean that when Trump's ire moves someplace else to Republican office holders, he won't be there to deliver the FBI as an enforcer against you. So there's a lot to be concerned about. I'll close with this. Never before in the history of American law enforcement has somebody sought to attain a high position in American law enforcement who has pled the Fifth Amendment. Not only did he plead the Fifth Amendment, but he refused to tell the committee what it was all about. You can't
What is this guy
plead the
talking
Fifth
about? I
unless
can
you have
come
a
up with
reasonable
45 minutes
expectation
of
that could
footage
put
of
you
Democrats pleading
in
the Fifth. They're saying, I
jeopardy
don't remember.
of a crime. What crime?
This is what the American people
How
see.
in jeopardy?
Sheer, utter
Explain that.
delusion.
You're not just a normal person. You're trying to be the head of the FBI. In a civil case, pleading the Fifth entitles the judge to instruct the jury to draw an adverse interest about your testimony. That the jury can find against you because you took the Fifth. Why we have not had a straight answer yet from our Republican colleagues about why the guy who wants to be the head of the FBI pled the Fifth? It is an unprecedented, terrible situation. With that, I yield the floor.
Off of our money, or put a mouse down. You mustard moo.
I say Trump.
I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump. Please don't tell my children that I just did that.
Some help with when you go to get your public records and you go to hold your public servants accountable here in the state of Connecticut, this is what you're met with. Some help with
Connecticut is recognized.
Oh, look
Thank you,
at
Mr.
this.
President.
Lying,
I want to
Dick
begin
Blumenthal
where
from Connecticut,
my
the big fat
wonderful
liar
friend
himself.
and colleague, Senator Whitehouse of Rhode Island, ended in opposing the nomination of Kash Patel to be director of the FBI.
I can't remember what I'm supposed to be upset with here.
I served as United States Attorney as well, and I know firsthand what an investigation and a prosecution can do to an individual's life, even without a conviction. I used to tell my staff the most important thing.
You don't know the first of it, buddy. I know better than you. I think you're going to find out real soon, though,
investigation
pal.
or bring charges, because that person will be under a magnifying glass, having to
guess who's going
defend
to jail.
himself.
Guess who's going to jail.
Even if no charges are brought, and to defend himself, even if there's no conviction, and the charges themselves can do irreparable harm to a person's reputation, his finances.
You're going to jail, man. Your
family,
act is
his
old.
life.
Everybody knows you're
We
a
entrust
walking
these
steaming
positions,
pile of lying horse shit.
investigative
lying,
and
denying,
prosecutorial,
stolen
to
valor,
people
Blumenthal.
who deserve the credibility and reliance that we give them. So the position of director of the FBI or Attorney General of the United States or prosecutors and investigators who work for them are not ordinary positions. even potentially in certain situations, they are more powerful than a member of the United States cabinet in the impact they can have on individual lives. For the ordinary nominee, any of the defects in character or experience,
U.S. Senator
or
Blumenthal, I've
performance in
called your
past
office
jobs
many times
would have been disqualifying.
about the false
We live
arrests
in
and the persecution,
a time that
the
is not
social
ordinary.
justice racket inside of the
And
Connecticut
this nominee
judiciary, which is
is not
weaponized
normal.
against people's constitutional rights and the people
I've never
themselves.
seen any nominee
You've never
to a
returned any of
position
my phone
of
calls or emails. Where have you
significant
been,
responsibility
sir?
that has
All of a sudden it's
as many
accountability on an executive level,
disqualifying
and now you're scared.
factors
Now you wanna
in
do
his
something and say
or her
something.
background. But
Too
I
little,
think
too
that
late line, Denang Dicky
one
boy.
comment about him that strikes me whenever I read it is the full quote from former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
Blah, blah, blah.
Part of that quote has been cited.
Just like the
by
sun
previous
coming out.
speakers. I want to read the whole quote.
We're going to shine that sun because it's the best disinfectant on what Musk and his minions are doing. President Musk.
It's like he's writing on
Because
Facebook. This
we
guy's
are
an
not
idiot.
going to stand for this kind of betrayal. It is a betrayal of our veterans.
Boy.
Now, very few people remember Secret Police Chief Beria and the terror he caused in carrying out
Former chief
Joseph
of Lunatic Police Department,
Stalin's
Paul Hussey.
edicts
Yeah, we remember
to
him.
destroy people's lives, to execute them, to
We know what New Britain Police are
eliminate their
doing. We
families.
know what the Connecticut State Police are doing. Yep,
But
yep. We know.
the mantra of Beria and Stalin. Show me the man.
That's what you guys do.
and
here
I'll
in
show you the
Connecticut. Yes,
crime.
and now you're psychologically projecting
Make
all
up
of
the
that
crime
onto Donald Trump
to
and
fit the
Patel
man, and we will
anyone who supports
eliminate
them. Yeah, you're a lunatic.
him.
You're a lunatic. You're going to prison.
We're talking here about a nominee who has an enemies list.
We're talking about U.S. Senator
He
Dick
calls it
Lying
something
Dick
different. He
Blumenthal
calls it
here, one of
government
Connecticut's
gangster.
biggest, dumbest criminals.
And he's on a
in
manhunt
the
for
entire
them. Manhunt
recorded
is
history
his word.
of America.
You can use different words, but the point here is he is on a mission to use the powers
To
of
bring
this
accountability
office
and justice to the American people while they're
in Donald
saving
Trump's
them trillions
name
of dollars.
for political retribution.
No longer will
against
the
his
party
enemies,
of corruption,
against
equity,
Trump's enemies,
racketeering,
against
and self-serving
MAGA's
profits
opponents.
be
To use
squandering the
these
future of our
institutions
children. Yes, that
for
is correct,
political
Lying Dick Blumenthal. That is
retribution
exactly what is happening.
It's the height of irresponsibility. Even to hint at it ought to
Let
be
justice
disqualifying,
be done,
and
though
he
your
has made it
pile of heaven
explicit
falls.
in his past writings and his statements and speeches, not just a couple of times. It is a theme that runs through
Here's
his
a
public
theme.
comments.
Here's a theme. Why don't we
eliminating
seize all of Richard Blumenthal's assets, properties, and everything, all of that of his family and everything, and conduct a complete and thorough audit and find out how this guy got all this money with such a shit salary. Why don't we do that? Why don't we start investigating you, Lying Dick Blumenthal? Yeah? Sounds good to me and everybody else. Not you, though, huh? Strange.
international and domestic terrorism, cyber criminal syndicates, foreign espionage, organized criminal enterprises, including drug cartels.
Psychological projection, and more projection. Accuse your enemy of that of which you are guilty. Just like any good, lying, fascist, dictatorial piece of shit, like lying Denang Dick Blumenthal would do.
All different backgrounds, races, religions can be victims of crime.
Right, yeah, you got to identify everyone with your identity division politics and try to exploit little groups and percentages of each of them to try to look like you have a unified collective of power behind your ludicrous, suicidal, counterintuitive representation?
Oh, that they're shooting at an FBI agent, but it's somebody pursuing them. They may not know that an FBI agent is operating undercover, and they may be killing him. And so the FBI's work is a dangerous business, but it is for our good and our safety.
We got a bunch of Donnie Brascos out there. Criminals masquerading as FBI agents, and they're all going to be fired or go to jail under Patel. Is that what you're afraid of, lying to dang Dick?
But in recent weeks, the Trump administration has systematically weaponized and politicized both the FBI and the Department of Justice. On her very first day of office, Attorney General Bondi created a, quote, weaponization working group. Let me repeat that. Weaponization working group. And specifically named targets to be investigated. Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith. All of them have led legitimate prosecutions and lawsuits against President Trump. There have been reports that prosecutors and FBI agents...
This guy is really sick. You know, I'd like to find out what, if any, psychotropic drugs he is under, prescription drugs he's under the influence of, and what kind of impact that may or may not have on his cognitive, state and his, sense of awareness and what kind of consciousness, is this guy in a state of active psychosis, or is he in a state of, consciously knowing, like, is he consciously aware that he's lying and brainwashing people, lying to everyone? Like, did he realize when he said, when I was in Vietnam, blah, 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 that he was lying? Or does he really believe he was a combat soldier in Vietnam? Because if he really believes that, we got some serious problems. Well, more serious than we thought. All of these guys are reading a script. It's like local media that's supposed to be independent for your local area, all repeating the same script across the nation. You've seen those videos. They all act like they got their own thing, but they're reading the same exact words verbatim like a script because they're all owned by the same big rich Jews. No, we're not anti-Semitic here. We're just stating the facts. A lot of Jews own most of the media. I think 99% of the media is owned by Jewish people, isn't it? Somebody want to help me out there? Somebody want to AI that or Google that? It's a topic unto itself. This is why independent media is so important, because it's not going to be biased and predicated upon our financial interests or financial ties or business relationships with any umbrella of otherwise failed businesses. We're just doing it for the right reasons here. Kind of like Musk sleeping on a floor in a sleeping bag, not getting paid to run Doge, whatever you're calling it. It's the very same thing. We need people that care to do the right thing. That's simple. That's what we do here.
Those FBI officials who serve professionally with distinction, put their lives on the line, purged as a result of Kash
Line 1, hey, thank you so much, Adam.
Involving himself, in fact, in those decisions, even as under
Mr.
oath.
T, more Ovaltine,
in response
please.
to my question,
Cindy Brooks.
He said, quote, all FBI
Tommy,
employees will be protected
pleasure
against
to see you folks. Thanks for
political
participating in the live
all
chat.
FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. Well, we stood in front of the FBI headquarters this morning. In that
kind of
building,
lost a lot of the wind in the sails behind Project Veritas came, just kind of fell into itself and disappeared on me. There was a lot that went down with Project Veritas over the last 8 years, and once very near and dear to me, and something that I actually was inspired by and kind of clung on to with great high hopes of receiving some sort of. Well, actually, you know what? To their credit, I did get a job offer from Project Veritas. That's a true story. I was asked to come out to New York for an interview, and I was very humbled by that. But aside from that, amazing sort of quasi achievement, I would say, it wasn't long after that that the wind kind of come out of the sails. There was just so much. I can't even remember what it was. I'm kind of digging as I speak here, trying to keep the dead air off the air. But I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. I just know there was more than one story associated with more than one legal problem that I did kind of research enough to learn, like, hey, man, like, these guys are not as pure as I thought. And, they got a good thing going, but it's not what I thought it was. So I kind of stopped. Like I said, the wind's just not in the sails. So I haven't seen it. The short answer is no, I have not seen it, Adam. But any good journalist looking to gather as much information as possible for the appropriate analysis and deduction of conclusion would be inclined to check as much out as possible. So I will look into it. I mean, perhaps I've been missing a whole bunch, and maybe I've been unfair to Project Veritas. But I digress.
Refuse to be honest when it really matters, pleading the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah,
the case
I
about
think
Donald
if anyone would correct course, you're not going to see that very often on corporate media. They'll spend fucking 320 days putting out a lie about somebody, completely assassinating their character, destroying their career. For 300 plus days, they'll lie about somebody, and then when everything comes out that it was wrong, and the guy's vindicated in court or whatever, they spend 30 seconds correcting themselves. They try to dispose of and dispel of their error, 320-day long error, with a 30-second update in between some story about chickens and puppies. So, but if anyone if anyone's going to do it, it would be Project Veritas. They would absolutely seek to correct course. I mean, I'm not ever going to question the integrity of Project Veritas here on this platform. It would just be unprofessional to do that. I think they have a lot of integrity. I'll make that clear. I will say that. But just I'd have to I'll look in my archives. We'll talk about Project Veritas on another show. I'll do like a half-hour bit on Project Veritas, and I'll show you guys, why I think what I think, and I just can't remember why I have these opinions of it now off the top of my head, like I said. But yeah, presumably they corrected course and they're trying to do the right thing. They seem to have the right idea, but I do vividly remember that there was something, both legal and public, between content and, actual legal troubles that really turned me off, that I was like, oh, well, fuck these guys. Basically, fuck Project Veritas was my thing. But I'm not endorsing that publicly. Like, now, that's just, me behind my closed doors and my general view of where I'm getting my information. I decided not to use them as a source anymore. Which leads me to the notion that there's room for a show like, where do you get your truth? Everybody's got their truth, and it would be interesting to talk about, where you get yours.
Wrong choice to serve as the director of FBI. We all have great admiration for the FBI. The men and women there serve our nation, do hard work.
Negative on the where'd my chat go? Hang on. Let me iron this out here. Here she is. Have you heard anything about Mike Gill and Pandora Papers recently? As a matter of fact, no, I have not. It's so hard to keep up with the ever-evolving and completely overwhelming news cycles. You know, the 24-hour news cycle is a beast. That machine will tear your ass up and spit your ass out as a completely different person in a very short time if you allow it to consume and to, shall we say, penetrate your frontal lobe to a degree that it builds its own sort of filtration system inside of your conscious awareness and prevents you from seeing reality and things clearly. You know, everything's going to be filtered through that, shall we say, prism, if you will, that state of active psychosis that is manufactured by the state and its, financial orgy with big corporate media network owners, crony capitalists, not to be confused with a genuine capitalist. Capitalism is good. Crony capitalism is bad. That corruption is bad. And crony capitalism isn't necessarily an exclusive byproduct of capitalism unto itself. Crony capitalism is, you can describe it as such in a capitalistic society, but it is the equivalent to the same sort of activity that you find in every other sort of system, which is corruption. Oh, where'd that live chat go? How did I lose it again? Oh, wait a minute. I'm just a noob. Where it is. Here, let's try this. Oh, let's try this. There it is. Since the inauguration, I've been watching the new changes every day. Yeah, there's a lot happening on a national level. It promotes a lot of interest on what's going to happen, or what potentially has a chance of happening on a local level, which I think is a very important topic for discussion. Everything starts locally. I'd like to see people kick off their own campaigns to be sheriffs in their towns and counties and things. Elizabeth Warren having $70 million. Is that crony capitalism or bribes? Well, bribes are part and parcel to crony capitalism. What's funny is this whole question about the gold bars in Fort Knox, or whether or not they're there. And then there's this guy in one of these Senate confirmation hearings talking about, these people being accused of stealing gold bars and how ludicrous it is. And it got me thinking, wasn't it 2-3 years ago? Was it under Biden term or maybe Donald Trump's previous presidency? I can't remember. Maybe in the latter stages of Trump's first term, or perhaps early stages of Joe Biden's term. There were judges. There was a judge who was found dead, or he died, or he was found himself in some sort of criminal issue, and a search of his house or something revealed some gold bars in his safe, or a stolen paint. What was the story? Was there a stolen painting and some gold bars? Something going on in some judge's house. Well, I'm pretty sure I remember something about gold bars. I wonder if all of that got buried. I remember it being buried really quick, too. I wonder if all that got swept under the rug, and if there's any connection there to the allegedly stolen gold from Fort Knox. But yeah, the short answer, part and parcel. Corruption is part and parcel to crony capitalism. So, of course, bribes are going to be part of that. Blackmail, favoritism, or shall we say nepotism. We'll say favoritism for those in Rio Linda. But for those so inclined and beyond the tenuous grasp of the English language, we will use words here on Tyrant Slayer Studios that are not commonly used in most common places. You know, you'll get a little cynicism here. I'll be very facetious at times. You'll find that I'm a very passionate person when it comes to innocent people being victimized by the government. I can't. I get really worked up over it, and I'm very enthralled to see that we have the potential for some actual justice coming out of D.C. because I've been making phone calls to the FBI. I've been writing letters to the White House. I've been calling our U.S. senators here on a local level. I've exhausted the average citizen's resources here, trying to get help, justice, and exposure, the great big spotlight, if you will, onto the Connecticut courts, onto Connecticut family courts, superior courts, onto our Office of Secretary of State itself, which seems to be completely owned, dictated, controlled, and operated by Black Lives Matter itself. So from top to bottom, I've been asking for help, and I've gotten no response. Nothing. Perhaps with a new U.S. Attorney General, perhaps with a new head of the FBI, perhaps with Donald Trump and Elon Musk out there in D.C. doing the will of the people, we might actually get a response. And that response might be even more swift than we could have ever possibly hoped for and imagined. I can literally provide, along with victims I've witnessed and interviewed and documented with their own circumstances, I can provide the federal government, the executive branch, and the legal authorities that are seeking to hold our government officials themselves accountable for stealing our money and victimizing us, persecuting us. I can assist them with tangible physical evidence, and so can the victims. I can present them to. And we can really begin a real campaign for real justice, real accountability, transparency, and liability right here in Connecticut, where all the lies start. It's important that you guys continue to watch this channel and support what I'm doing here, and my children. They all want to be a part of it too. I have not written Elon yet. Listen, these are serious things. I've been, and you guys got to remember, I've got 5 children, one of which who's been taken from me and given to a drug addict prostitute who gets beat up and assaulted, punched in the face in front of my poor daughter, because that's what the state needs to get money from the federal government. My daughter needed to be kidnapped in the absence of any due process. I needed to be extorted and put on the hook. I show up and present exhibits, testimony, and on the court record, I'm not even there. They just lie and make everything up. Little does the court know that I have all of it documented 100% to prove that they're full of shit. I can give the federal government tangible physical proof that the family courts in Connecticut, specifically Rockville Court, and its judges, Jennifer Mazurowski in particular, and Judge Barry Armada, who is in a criminal conflict of interest with the plaintiff's attorney, Matthew Potter. They're all in violation. They're all in violation. They're all running a racket. And they basically kidnapped my kid, threw her into some Section 8 housing with a bunch of drug addicts and a drug-addicted prostituting mom. And they did it because that's what the state needs to get more federal money down to the state, which never actually goes towards helping my kid or any of that stuff for housing and putting them in a place where she has an opportunity to grow and have a good chance of succeeding in America. But to keep her in a place that manufactures and fosters trauma, abuse, neglect, drug addiction, sexual assault, child molestation. Yeah, because that's where the equity is in the state of Connecticut. So, aside from that, I got 4 kids here and a beautiful wife. I'm very busy all the time. Writing a letter to Elon Musk and Donald Trump and to these people takes a lot of time. I've yet to begin even penning a letter, and I haven't even decided if I'm going to type it or I'm going to pen it. And if I do pen it, I've got to make sure everything's legible. And I haven't begun the draft because beyond what I've thought I want to say, and beginning in the first few lines, I have no idea how to articulate it in a way that I feel would compel them to respond appropriately. So I want to make sure that I do it right. I think what I'm going to do is ask for your support, kind of almost like a petition. It won't be a petition. It'll be a letter that I think all of you guys can approve of, and I'll make it all public and we can work on this together. And if there's any statements you guys want in these letters about any matters that you are aware of that you can testify to specifically under oath and be willing to do so, I could put all that in it and make it, part of this process as well. It doesn't have to be about me specifically and my cases and what's happened firsthand with the Connecticut judiciary. I can help victims too. Excuse me. Throat's getting a little dry here. You'll have to excuse me. I'm going to step away, grab a drink. That's what these intermission money buttons are for. I hope you're enjoying the show. Line one, I do really sincerely appreciate the audience live chat participation. I'm going to run through some of your comments when I get back. Please pardon me. We'll tune back into the hearing. I'll give you that drivel for now. I will be right with you momentarily. Let's hit the money button first, shall we?
Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted.
Oh, it's this lady again. Oh, no.
Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson.
It's this lady again. No. All right, now let's take a look-see here. Shout out to all of the viewers who have been kind enough to join us here at Tyrant Slayer Studios and participate on a level beyond that of those who are not. Tommy, 22, shit, that's hard to read, and another number 4. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. Thanks for participating. Tommy, 2274. That's what it is. Okay. Cindy Brooks, Randy Lutz, T, Mr. T, Adam LeCompte, line 1. Anyone? Okay. Let's see what you got for me. Yeah, not so bad. It is very cold out here. If you're in Connecticut, it is very cold today. The snow has iced over here in the state of Connecticut. Our youngest even took a digger here on the deck, just walking on the frozen ice. He's quite all right. No even minor injuries, just a minor fall. But yeah, very cold out here. In fact, I'm going to start mixing in weather reports. I've got a little timer, a little clock, a countdown here in the studio now, so I can be mindful of how long I'm spending on certain segments, and also, keep a countdown, a ticker running on when I got to stop talking and shut up. I do got to do that every once in a while. And in that process, I think, every 8 minutes or every 12 minutes, I haven't decided how I'm going to run this yet. It'll all kind of work itself out as I start doing this on a daily basis. But, we'll give you daily traffic updates, weather updates every, couple 8, 10, 12 minutes, similar to like what you'll get on a local AM dial talk show radio thing, stuff like that. I'll even do sports, so if you got like a favorite sports team or something you need coverage of, you can let me know. I'll be sure to exclusivize the content. The whole mantra here is it's the People's Press Studio. So if you got questions and you got concerns, or you've got something that you feel needs to be out and we need to circle the wagons around, then you should absolutely try to make contact with me at studioadmin@tyrantslayerstudios.com. That's the email address best utilized. In fact, I'm going to start taking phone calls. I think I might do a show on Fridays that is completely opened to the audience. for the last 2 hours. I'll do like a 10-minute monologue every Friday, and then talk about what's happening locally with the sports, weather, and traffic updates in between. And then for the last couple hours of the show or so, maybe 90 minutes, I'll open everything up to you guys. You can call in. You can get on a virtual studio. You can use your camera, jump right in on the show. You can call in over the telephone. You know, we could do a whole bunch of stuff here. It's a matter of what you want to do. I know we certainly don't want to spend our afternoon listening to this. Here, watch this.
Scott of Florida. Mr. Scott of South Carolina. Mrs. Shaheen.
I wonder how she asks for salt at home. Can you pass the salt?
Miss Larkin.
The door's locked.
Miss Smith.
Jesus, man, it's like...
All right, now listen to me. Remember your brakes and switches. Get ready to flare out.
So, yeah. Lots going on here. Lots going on in Connecticut. Every day I'm doing show prep for you guys. And it just gets worse. Like, I have to keep on building it more and more instead of just presenting it because there's so much to talk about here on a local level. We've got judges that aren't even on the bench legally, imposing excessive illegal bonds on people. You got people out here that are literally killing people, trying to kill people, shooting at people with guns, fleeing to different states and things like that. Their bonds are only $250,000. Then you got city engineers, whistleblowers like Sam Magliari, who's never committed a violent crime in his life, never hurt anyone, never threatened to hurt anyone or anything like that. He's got $1 million bond, and he's in a maximum security federal prison right now because the people that are on our televisions all day, every day, screaming about, oh my God, we can't let these people get into power. They're going to screw everything up for government officials. Like, these people are committing crimes and ruining innocent people's lives and throwing them in jail with $1 million bonds to get away with embezzling and laundering and stealing all of our money. This is a former city engineer of Stamford, Connecticut. He needs to be let out of prison immediately. If you don't know anything about the Samuel Magliari case, he's been framed. He's completely innocent. If you don't know anything about the Andrew Pritchard case, in which the Connecticut State Attorney General himself is named as a felon and has already been placed under arrest, then I suggest you guys find out what's going on. And you can do that. The best way to do that is by sticking with me right here. We've had Andrew Pritchard on. We've had Sam Magliari on. We've had that guy Johnny Flynn on. I wonder how Johnny Flynn is doing with his bid for U.S. Senate. Oh, where has my Johnny gone? Spent a lot of time trying to help that guy. He did give me a car. I will give him that. He did give me a car for helping him. He gave me a 1971 Spitfire convertible. Yeah. Oh, no, not Spitfire. No, is it a Spitfire? Yeah, I think. No, it's not a Spitfire. Yeah, it's a Spitfire. I think. Don't quote me on that. It's everything. It's a classic car. It's an old classic British car. It just needs brakes. I hope you guys like the new layout. I don't know where my chat keeps oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. Here it is. All right, let's get back to these comments. I'm rambling. You can tell me to shut up anytime. I don't mind the criticism. I get a lot of it. As long as you don't threaten to kill me like Kevin Dean, a Colchester resident here in Connecticut, has been permitted to threaten to shoot and kill me for doing my job as a journalist. It seems as though if you have a brother as a detective in the Willimantic Police Department on the verge of retiring, You can threaten to shoot and kill journalists. Nothing will happen to you. Especially if your name is Kevin Dean and your brother is a former detective for Willimantic Police Department, where the mayor, Tom DeVivo, is running a racket. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, called. Inauguration. People shove cocaine and diamonds up their butts. It's conceivable that gold bars go missing. Yeah, but is it suggestible that they're going up their butts? I mean, some of these people got some pretty big asses. People have hot Vincent Van Gogh paintings in their homes. I believe that bars are missing. Yes, this is true. And I bet you'll find the bars behind the paintings. I mean, it's kind of like the keys up on the visor inside of the old pickup truck, with the dead, the farmer's dead in the barn. You go towards, you got to get out of there before you get killed too. The keys are always going to be in the visor, right? New Hampshire needs attention too. Yes, that's right, Adam. You've got your own thing going on. Adam LeCompte, if you haven't checked out this guy's work and you don't know his story, please head on over to his channel. Adam LeCompte has got some very good documentation of a very serious situation out there. And he is a genuine victim who is in dire need of very serious help. And perhaps he, like me and many others, has found a sense of hope with all of these many changes occurring here in the United States of America and this very turbulent political and cultural landscape of ours. Yeah, thank you, Line 1. Thumbs up. Hit that like button if you have not done so already. Folks, you're watching Tyrant Slayer Studios. We're hoping Patel gets confirmed today. Yeah, I have not contacted Elon yet. I would imagine there's a lot of people writing him. That's why I got a little apprehensive about it. I'm waiting. I know there's going to be a wave of letters that comes in for him now, and I want to wait. Like, instead of getting up in line in Thanksgiving and waiting 20 minutes standing there for food, I sit and have a good time, let everyone run their line through, and then I go up and just nice and easy, all expeditiously right on through. I'm kind of hoping for that same principal effect with the letters. And again, like I said, and I have to emphasize with tremendous emphasis that I want these letters to be the best thing I've ever written in my life. Because presumably I get one shot to do this all right the first time. And that's the idea. No room for failure here in the state of Connecticut. No room for failure here at Tyrant Slayer Studios, where we bring you your news just the way you like it. Line 1, I didn't realize you had 5 children. I do remember you went through the situation when they took her. Yeah, my daughter, man, she's still suffering. Been completely isolated, basically kidnapped. A sanctioned kidnapping by the state of Connecticut has rendered my daughter and my relationship with her alien to me and the entire support network she grew up with for more than half of her life, absent of her life, which is child abuse unto itself. She hasn't seen or talked to, and despite all the letters we've written and attempts we've made to make contact with her, drug-addicted, prostituting mom has isolated her from her entire family because, God forbid, she gets an opportunity to talk to us, and she tells us that she's been molested by mommy's boyfriends and that mommy's boyfriends are breaking all of her cell phones and that they're doing drugs in the house and overdosing in the living room and there's blood everywhere. And, yeah, mom doesn't want to be embarrassed and lose all of that Section 8 housing and go to jail and get beat up by her boyfriend and stuff. So that means that my poor daughter doesn't get to have a normal life. And Connecticut needs federal money to fund its unfunded pension liabilities for corrupt, racketeering public servants. And the only way to get it efficiently is by doing things like this through family courts to my child and I. Putting mom in Section 8 house, telling her that she's woman strong and making her believe that she's a strong, independent woman while they completely subsidize all of her food and housing and everything. Making her a single mom and making her marry the state, if you will. That's how Connecticut gets its money from the federal government. Dead air is our enemy here. Yeah, Lion One. I know you agree on a lot with what I say, and that's good. Disagreements are good too. If I have any trolls in the comment section, don't be shy. You guys can hate on me. I'm not going to cry. Just don't threaten to shoot and kill me. The family court incentivized to generate revenue and destroy good parents in nuclear families and suck up all the generational wealth. Well, yeah, it's how they've been filling that budget gap in the judiciary. Yeah, the letters are tough. North Carolina, Line 1. North Carolina in the house. You must know NC Tyrant Hunter. NC Tyrant Hunter used to be a colleague of mine for a brief time. Unfortunately, we have some narcissistic sociopaths in what is described as the First Amendment auditing community. And upon my extraordinary and sudden entrance on the scene, I was kindly introduced to some of these people who I was unaware are very sick people and began working with them in hopes that we could do something productive together. But it turns out like these people were they start copying me, biting the language I use, biting the content. I realized they're out there to try and be better than me as opposed to working with me. You find grown adults demonstrating behavior indicative of unruly middle school and high school students. It's just very disturbing. I digress. Jesus Christ.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
But, yeah, we're here watching the Senate confirmation. We're going through your questions and comments. Connecticut is a model for the police state. It's the manufacturer of police states. It's where all of the lies about Donald Trump all started. It's where the whole term President Musk started. Connecticut is basically the citizens in Connecticut are victim to socialists and communists fighting over who's going to take all of our capital, our sovereignty, our wealth, our future away and finance it on what they need today to erect their great big left-wing utopia, where we have no borders, we have no language, we have no American culture, but we might secede from the Union and be part of Canada. Where the judiciary gets to make up new rules in a back room every day, absent any legislative process, and just impose rules on you that you like you're engaged in some sort of contract with it, even though you're not, and hold you accountable to somebody's opinions. You can't do this because it's against our rule. It's real bad out here in Connecticut. I understand it would take a while. Yes. I like your new shows, and I also liked when Eyes on the State in Florida used to do certain major events coverage. It's preferable to legacy media mainstream coverage. Well, you know what? That is a heck of a compliment, and I truly did enjoy working with Eyes on the State. I think he has a wonderful platform. He seemed like a nice guy, but he's a part of that collective. He's he's one of those guys that if he's got an alliance with somebody, no matter what the dilemma or issue is, he's going to, nepotism reigns supreme. Even in the world of eyes on the state, unfortunately. There's professional criticisms, and then there's crossing personal lines, and many of these fake heroes on YouTube today cross a lot of personal lines. If I were to disclose what I've received in text messages from some of these people online, I could guarantee that unto itself would go viral, and no one would want to watch their content anymore. But like I said earlier, I'm not here to hurt people or defame anyone or be counterintuitive to the overall objective here, which is to improve the quality of life and the flow of information, the reliability of it. Transparency, accountability, and liability. Pretty simple fucking stuff here. Pretty simple stuff. Oh, there we go. There we go. How about the music? Audio sound good? Everybody good here? My wife's looking at me. Maybe I ought to get off of here. It's almost time, I think. I got some business to take care of this afternoon. We'll try to make it through these comments here. I know NCTH, yes. NC Tyrant Hunter. We spent a lot of time together. I know him outside of 1A and auditing too. Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy. He's one of the more genuine. He never really participated in any of the shit that some of these other guys gave me, and he very well could have, but he didn't. So much love and respect to NC Tyrant Hunter. I do hope he's doing well. I know that he was unhealthy for a minute there. He was, I think one of the last times I watched him, he was sick, and he was going to a truck rally. He was out there freezing cold, sick. Bringing it to you. Raw, ice cold. I like his work. Yeah. The Benghazi Rabbit, never heard of him. I'll check it out. Brand Example Reports. Awesome. Another local journalist out in North Carolina. We love to support our local independent journalists, especially when they do good work. And with that in mind, I suppose I should mention the Constitution State audits out here in Connecticut. I'll give you guys an update on what's going on this hearing later. I've got some business to attend to. I've got to get off. Live streams are another beast. I might actually create a separate channel for live streams exclusively, and then just start doing regular videos and shorts on this channel. Let me know what you think I should do in the comment section. Let me know what you would like to hear about happening in Connecticut or in your state. Let me know what you'd like to see for content here on Tyrant Slayer Studios.
Aye.
Oh, we're getting the count in. Here we go. Suppose I'll give it 10 minutes. We'll stick around until 2:30. Fuck this lady. I think that's going to do it, folks. I'm going to get out of here. I got too much going on. I do appreciate it, though, Lion One and everybody else. Thank you for being here. You guys have a great day. Rachel, thank you so much. I love you, honey. My wife. And with that said, I bid to you farewell. We'll catch up later.
Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.